What? 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 Why is there nothing wrong with The Last of Us TV show? Oh hey, I make content no matter what, so if you enjoy it, well, come support and join the YouTube members. Now, before we get into the first episode of the TV show, well, we need a slight refresher for what is and isn't Last of Us. Basically, Last of Us is revered as one of the best video games of all time, mainly because of its story. However, visually, at least for the console generation it was put on, the PlayStation 3, it also was phenomenally good looking, winning plenty of rewards and being highly critically revered. Last of Us also was probably one of the bigger, if not the biggest, seller for PlayStation 3, and of course all the other newer generation consoles as well. But mainly the game is basically known for saving PlayStation 3. Which is kind of funny too. But of course the game was not perfect. I mean, the gameplay was relatively average for me. The graphics, well, for the console generation, yeah, were definitely respectable and really good for the console it was put on. But compared to the PC where I'm playing, well, not as much. Cutscenes as well as the gameplay elements that pertain to storytelling were genuinely fantastic. And as it happens, the game is also finally coming to PC this year. Actually very soon now too. So, about that HBO TV show. So, you can see how, especially in the modern era where TV shows, especially based on video games and other platforms or other medium, tends to be a bit questionable. Specifically when it comes to video game adaptations, they've been very sparsely okay at best. Never good. So in the current era, especially with inserted pandering from many different, things, if you will, without going into deeper analysis or analysis, Last of Us seems weird, because there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's nothing wrong with the opening episode. It goes beat by beat, according to the game. Right, as for the directing, casting, well, directors, of course, and the creators are, of course, the Neil Druckmann, who made Last of Us, and before that worked on Uncharted series, and then had a brilliant idea to make Last of Us Part 2. Yep, and then there's the other creator, writer, Craig Mazin, hopefully I got that right, who worked on and created Chernobyl, the TV series, and worked on writing a lot of spoof movies. Scary Movie 3, Scary Movie 4, superhero movie, blah blah blah, and the list goes on. It's weird. He also works on the Borderlands movie as a writer, so we'll see how that pans out. Now, as for the casting, well, for Joel we have Pedro Pascal, of course the Mandalore fame being the last big thing he was involved in, and in fact today Mandalore season 3 trailer just released and it's fine. He fits visually fine, but when it comes to acting it's kind of, I don't know, it feels like Joel wasn't quite as disinterested in the opening part of the game. So that's kind of his style of acting, which is fine, but a bit more emotion would have been appreciated. After all, Joel is a bit more emotional person rather than just... Now, as for Ellie's casting, well, it's Belle Ramsey, yeah, the Game of Thrones small kid, what was the house? Regardless. Her other works, well, pertain to mostly just some unknown crap, but one does stand out, and that is Hilda, the animated Hilda TV show. Well, and I do recommend watching it because it's pretty good overall. The writing is interesting, voice acting is alright, and that's what she did. Now, as for Ellie, well, it's too early to say, but she fits fine, even though she is notably taller specifically. As for the supporting cast, well, all of them fit fine. Well, of course, Tommy is a bit... but regardless, Tommy is a piece of shit regardless. I mean, technically all of the people in Last of Us are supposed to be piece of shit according to Neil Druckmann, so... we'll see about that. However, now, as for the story, well, the first episode pertains to basically just the opening part of the video game itself, getting out of the Boston, or rather smuggling Ellie out of Boston. And that part overall is set up quite nice. The sets are nice, the CGI is TV show-like, but regardless, considering that Warner Bros. Are the production company, or was it release company? Well, regardless, Warner Brothers are involved, so that's and HBO is making it, so yeah, or rather showing off, and that's all good. We'll see, of course, how the rest of the costumes look, of course, how the CGI of the mushroom zombie people look like. That's the big one. Of course, from the trailers we can say, yeah, it's suitable, but we'll see, we'll see. As for the overall action, story, setup at least, the episode starts off a bit differently. Of course, the intro is better than in-game stuff, a little bit longer, and as I said to my friend, it smells of Game of Thrones ripoff start, and that's fine, you know, fine. The episode overall opens with just a big talk, and a really nicely written talk about the fungi and how the climate is changing, blah blah blah, and essentially the setups or hints for the pending or impending zombie apocalypse, and that's fine. I really enjoyed it, surprisingly so. It's interesting to listen, just interesting dialogue. Then we open up with, of course, the part of just Joel doing his things, and of course his daughter being the point of view character for the outbreak part. And of course, as not gonna spoil too much if you haven't played the games or watched the series, we skip 20 years after the outbreak, after a certain point, and it's interesting seeing Boston being this sort of walled-off city, if you will, and how people interact within it, and you know that everyone's not exactly the good guy. That's kind of the point of Last of Us, that you know, everyone's a piece of shit. Or at least that's what Neil Druckmann is telling us. So right now, with the first episode, not gonna spoil too much. Again, it's just the first portion of the game, and I am genuinely surprised how much they managed to cut out of the game's sort of events and still get a really cohesive and really good sort of story. A quick pace as well, within technically an hour and 20 minutes. It honestly felt like a 40-minute one. So pacing is wonderful, the acting is wonderful, of course, and the cast, the suits, everything, we'll see how it progresses. So for now, it is just genuinely weird that there's nothing wrong with it. A positive outlook, or rather mildly cautious outlook for The Last of Us. I'll be following this thing closely, because I did enjoy the game, thanks to a friend who let me play the PS4 version of it. And actually, this year, Last of Us is releasing on PC as well, so there'll be a reason to grab it, perhaps, and maybe review it, or just simply enjoy it once more and play along with the TV show. Right, so let's see, the game should be coming out around March, I think, or so. That's about it. It's basically a positive outlook without spoilers. Again, do go watch it, maybe even play it or replay it if you want to, and play along with the game. We'll see where the story deviates, if it does, and if it doesn't, it will be the first TV adaptation or any kind of adaptation of a video game that doesn't stray away at all from the game. And if that happens, yay! That's all you need to do. Never stray away from the game's material and events. That's all you need to do to make an okay and passable, these days, a good TV show. Halo, Resident Evil, Velma. So, do let me know, have you seen it, and what do you think about it? And perhaps, do you like this sort of a format? I've never really done anything like this, so I might actually follow it up on it. In fact, I do want to talk about Velma, because Scooby-Doo is quite close to me, and we'll see about the third episode about that, and oh gods help me. Anyways, do support the content I make, and of course do check out other stuff I make, and yeah, do check out Last of Us, surprisingly so.